My entire studio is filled with tulips, quilted tulips, that is. I'm Pat Sloan. Welcome to my neighborhood. It is feeling like spring, finally. I don't know how many times I may have to say this, but it feels like spring. I think some of you may be still waiting for it, so I feel for you. I'm sure that it will be coming in no time at all, any day now. And ours will come and go. Like, I am resisting tremendously the urge to go out and buy flowers and plant them. You know, we have put the mulch down, so the beds are really amazing, but you know, it's not here. It's not time yet. So I live just outside Washington, D.C. in Virginia, in Northern Virginia, out in this sort of urban metro area around D.C. And Washington is well known, DC, for the cherry blossoms. So if you've been watching the news, you've been seeing these absolutely gorgeous, spectacular cherry blossoms. But one of the interesting things about our part of the world here is that all of the communities around quite a large perimeter to DC have planted lots of cherry trees. Lots of people own them. It's a good climate for it, and so they're everywhere. You can go, I can stroll my neighborhood and find cherry blossoms in bloom. It's just amazing. You can go to the parks. They're just everywhere. Now, if you ever want to come to DC and look at the cherry blossoms, there is a website, and I'll link it down here. Everything I'm going to talk about, I'll link down here. But it's called Cherry Blossom Watch. And it actually tells you day by day and the roll up and what's going on each day. Like, we had some rain, so they gave a status on what the rain did to the petals and that kind of a thing. It's pretty neat to be able to get sort of the blow by blow information from somebody like right on the ground that can go out and look at the blossoms, particularly if you're planning a trip and you want to be sure you hit it when they're in bloom, because you know, it's a certain time and depends on the weather, as all the flowers do, right? Well, I have a little chat today about some of the things I've worked on, the stuff that's come out, so that you don't miss it. And then I want to talk a bit about how, towards the end, I want to talk a bit about how quilting is our sort of our therapy, you know, like what we do when we quilt, you know, how that feels to us. So that'll be a little sort of the back end. It'll be interesting. It'll also be part of my giveaway, so you want to stay tuned for that. And I'm going to sew. I'm sitting at the Solaris today, and I am going to do a little sewing. So I'll pull the camera down here and stitch a bit and chat about some things. So that'll be super fun. All right, we had the flower bouquet, the Wednesday weekly. And the next block comes out, I'm going to put it out Tuesday because Wednesday I'm on travel. Actually, I'm teaching Wednesday, and lecturing, so it's a whole day. I'll already be at the event. So we leave Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday late morning. So I'm going to put the next block out on Tuesday, and that will mean that after that we have 5 more blocks. And then for the summer, I will do a shorter sew along. And then there's some book things that are, you know, sew the books, that there will be kits that the Fat Quarter Shop did for those books. So I'll link up to those. So those things are all coming up. But that is the block we did this week. It's a garden center. So yay. I know I'm resisting. They put one in my little plaza, right, that I walk to. They put in a pop-up garden center every summer, and I see they brought in the little building, and so it's like, it's coming. I'm so excited. All right, I've got my rolling assistant back here, so you can see, there it is. See the rolling assistant? This is the cart. I'll link you up to that. Everybody should have a rolling assistant because they are indispensable. I tell you, indispensable. So I've got a couple things. So here is, I had the emoji book, Sew Emoji, sew along. And this is what I did for the sew along. And if you're watching this and you leave a comment by Monday night I'll put the link, you could win a copy of the book. They're really cute. The full quilt is darling. And what it does is it gives you all of the components, so you can make just the ones you want. You can make a quilt. I don't know, the quilt they did is just really, really cute for the book. It's in blue with the yellow faces. I think these remind me of Happy Faces a lot. You know, I'm sure that was when people started designing these emojis, that was probably not an accident. I'm sure that they were modeled off of the happy face, which is iconic yellow smiley face, which I love. I love the happy face. Okay, Betty's luncheonette and my massive amount of peach fabric. Okay, I did it. I've been making blocks from the Perfect 10 book. Ta-da! Oh, that's the same block. Here's a different one. So what I did is following the one pattern. Let me give you, here's one with the pineapple. I love this pineapple. Betty's luncheonette. Like, what is that, cottage cheese and pineapple? I don't eat cottage cheese, but unless it's in lasagna. But cottage cheese and pineapple, isn't that sort of like a classic luncheonette food? So I decided that I would be using, whoops, where is it? Can't get the book open. All right, Pat. Yeah, the Perfect 10. So I have the Perfect 10 book, and I selected, because I have so much of that peach fabric, I thought I'm doing one of the bigger quilts. So I'm doing the coffee quilt. And that is pretty big. When it's done, it's 90 by 90. I don't know, they have it set, see, they have it set side by, what they have it with sashing. I know somebody said to me, well, maybe you could use sashing, you know, with yours, but then you don't get the chain effect. So I'm thinking of no sashing, and then maybe getting a small border of one of the prints that I like in there. I'm kind of partial to one with the pineapple on it. I'm thinking that would be kind of cool to frame it out. So that, I'm doing that as I'm sewing other things. So as I'm sewing other things, I have that all cut out. I have everything cut out. I have them stacked up. I should have brought that over here. Sorry. If I put this in my blog post, I'll try to make a picture for it. So my website, I have the Fireside Chat category. So I cut it all out. That way, as I'm doing other things, I just feed it through to start and finish the other projects. And that way, this is going along quite quickly. I have maybe a third of the blocks done. And those are quick blocks. Those are not, none of the quilts in the Perfect 10 book are difficult. They're all pretty simple. They're all done to showcase fabric, all different sizes. It's real. I really love it. Okay, what else do we have? Here's another project that's going on. I'm showing you all my going on projects. It's like insane. I have too many going on right now, and I keep adding. Like, you know, like too many is never too many, and I keep adding. So you know, we have, and I didn't get, okay, let me see if I can reach them. Hold on, I'm over here. Okay, got them. They're up on my design wall, which is over there. So here we're doing the Tulip Fest, right? So here is the one block I did with the full tulip, which I really love. One of my guests on the podcast sent me her fabric line, which I don't think is in stores yet, so it's pretty cute. And then I'm doing 4 of these. So I have 4 done, 4 purple ones, and I use my very meager stash of purple. I don't know why I have very meager purple, but enough to do 4. Actually, I have more I could do if I wanted to use it all up of these particular fabrics right here. I could probably do 9 or 12, maybe. Could squeeze out. Maybe might have to buy a tad more if I really wanted to do that. So I've done 4, which I'm probably going to set the 4 and then decide, do I want to make any more or not? Probably not. I'll probably do a small one for the sew along. Now, I know a couple people already did the table runner from the book, Celebrate the Seasons, and some of you told me you're going to do the placemats. So you want to make something and enter them at the end of, we're doing this for like 5 weeks in a row, sewing along. So you can even make just one. Just make one tulip and frame it, you know, with a border. Cute to hang up. It fits in those little spots like you have like next to a door. You just need to brighten it up with a little something. That's what I like about these projects. You know, they're not big, and so you get a great amount of satisfaction, at least I do, to doing them. So I think last time I mentioned this is when I was doing these, I thought to myself, they're about the same size as Norm and Nanette. Now, if you don't remember Norm and Nanette, here they are. And I have made one norm so far, because I'm now making tulips. So, you know, I made one norm, but I have a bunch of faces in progress for norm. This part, I have like all of these done for norm, because I decided that doing this book, it is written to do it all, do the parts, and it's easier. Even though I made one first, it's easier now to do them and follow along, because I didn't write this, so it's easier to follow somebody else's directions, you know, and just do them all in groups. So I thought, what if Norm and Annette had tulips? What if there were tulips in there? So I made a tulip. I made a pink one. I think pink will go. These are soft, pretty soft pinks. So I think the pink one will be really good. Okay, let's look. Ta-da! What do you think? Do you like them? I love them. I think that what I'm going to do, now you can see the tulip is smaller. So I will probably either place it at the bottom, then at the top. So you see there's a room here at the top where my finger is. You know, up here between this distance, I will put the gray, and then I don't know if I'll do anything else. I might just put the band of gray and then that's that. Or I might do the band of gray and maybe 3 little dots or something. I don't know. We'll see. But what I'm thinking is just three tulips. Because in design, odd numbers are really, really effective and aesthetically pleasing. So what I'm thinking is that I'm going to keep it the same size, because otherwise if I just added them, they would go out, be wider rather than longer. So I'm going to remove remove 2 norms and 1 nanette and replace them with a tulip. So let me know if you would take out 2 norms and 1 nanette. So to get the 3. That's all right, let's move along here. I need a little sip of my, these are my they're iced coffee, but they're brewed. They're called Americanos. And then I use just a little bit of soy in it. So they're really like, they're not calories really. They're like 20 calories. You know, it's coffee and soy, a little tiny little drop of soy in it. So my friend Bonnie Hunter is the queen of scrap quilts. Everybody knows that. If you haven't met Bonnie yet, you need to go visit her. She's got great scrap quilts. And she has this newest book, String Frenzy, which I think is probably reading backwards in the, no, you got it, you know, it comes up, okay. So String Frenzy, and it's, you know, she does lots, she has a whole theory and science of cutting scraps and how she uses them, and then she creates these amazing quilts with tons and tons of fabric in them. And so what I decided is that I showed you the other day, I'll link you to the post, but I have this sort of excessive amount of cream fabrics. So I decided that I would make the quilt that uses the most cream that I could find. So here I have strips that are used for these snowball blocks. That's what these are. And then I could actually use them in here too. But so I'm just using these sort of pinky reds and the teals from Fig Tree that I have. I have this great big group of Fig Tree that I thought, well, I could use that up too. But what I like is I'm doing just, these are each 9 patches 1 block, each snowball is a block. So this is a 9 patch, there's 9 blocks. So I'm thinking if I do these 9 patches, just do them every so often, then in using up this fabric, then eventually I'll just have a big quilt, and I'll do this sort of as I go. So I thought this would be what I would sew. I would show you a little bit, and I've got a board here, and I've got thread in the Solaris, and okay. So a couple different things. First of all, let's go down here just a minute on the table. So let me put the block, push all that stuff over there. So here is the block, so you can see it at the same time that we're talking about it. And let's see, getting all rooched up here. So I have things like this, which are was from a layer cake, a leftover piece that I cut up from a layer cake. So I cut up a bunch of that. I have a leftover piece from a jelly roll, or this was like a honey bun. This was some extra fabric leftover, that I just cut into strips. So these here I can cut to create, whoops, hold on. So I would be creating strip sets. That's the whole concept of this particular book. So here is a strip set, and then what I even did for this part here, see this strip is all ends. So like when I was done, like, and had this little extra bit that didn't make it into a square, see here's one of the squares. So there would be like extra left over from this strip set. I would just sew all those together and make another strip in there. This is just so much fun. It's actually very addicting. But I will sew a little bit. I've got to put these all back in the assistant or I will really lose track. There is like for the 9 patch, here are the 2 units, you know, you're dealing with for the 9 patch. And I have alternate there from 2 different kinds of beige and then the reddy pink. So these are what I make, you know, these 3-piece strip sets, which are correct sizes for a 9 patch. But this strip set, you can have wide and skinny, and the more variety you have, the more interesting it is. It's much more interesting to see the different, to see the different lengths. So let's go down here. I'm trying to make this go a little, there we are. So I am going to take 2 different pieces and just run them through here. And I've got the light turned down on my machine so that I don't blast you out, so you can actually see what I'm doing. Now this is a fairly long one, so I'm going to lift up the presser foot, and I've got a guide foot on here so that you can, this is what a guide foot is. Now I also could put the guide beam on, so I'm just pressing that on, and there you could see the beam if I wanted that, and it's a double beam, so so I would, if I wanted to take off the side one, sorry, I'm hitting the wrong button. There we go, off. So now I've just got 1 guide beam on there. And if I want to do this strip set, then I would just come all the way down. And the one thing about doing long strip sets is that often it's better to sort of switch the direction as you go. Like if I'm going this direction, rather than flipping it the next one and sewing here and then continuing, sometimes it's better to flip and go the other way. Start at the opposite end and go that way with a piece, because they tend to warp. And I'm sure that if you've done any kind of strips like this, you will notice that they can, you know, fabric has a life of its own, so it can warp. So here, I am not going to stop and, you know, fiddle around. I'm just going to put another strip on. And I have these shorter ones now. So if I wanted to do a shorter one, this is sort of how I think about it. If I want to do a shorter one, I could sew them together. Or instead, I could just bank them right up next to each other when I get there. I could say, okay, so here's the next one. I will just run it together, or you could sew them together. There's a gap if you run them together, but so you know that may not work out ultimately, but sometimes it's a benefit to do it that way. Now if I want to bring these up, get the needle up, and I'm going to bring this up, bring this out a little bit so that we can, here we go. So I was sewing, all right, so I was sewing with the dot on the top, right? And if I wanted to do the next strip set, I could open this up, right? And then take like this floral, take the floral and put it here and then sew down. And then that one would come open like this. But if I wanted to make it a little less warping, what I would do instead, this is what I was talking about earlier, what I would do instead is, instead of starting at the top again like I did on the last one, I would take it and go to the other end. So here's the other end where I've got now the turquoise, and I would take this floral and sew it on the turquoise side. And so that way it's a little less, you have like a balance. You know, fabric has a life of its own. I truly believe that. It's not a piece of wood or a piece of glass. You know, fabric shifts and moves and breathes and has things that just, you know, they don't stay put. Fabric does not stay put. And that's why a lot of people will starch some fabric, because it gives them extra firmness. Now this particular piece isn't quite as long. No, I don't worry about that, because let me show you what I'll do. Try and keep my hand out of the way. So if I wanted to do I cut the thread with a thread cutter. Now on this here, if I decided, well, I could take and just cut this off like here, and then this piece could be sewn with some shorter ones. So I had like, here we go, like I had this shorter unit from before. So what I would do is just sew those together and create this piece, which I would then use like this as a whole strip set. So let me do one more little sewing on here. Show you one more thing. I will do a corner. Okay, so here is, oh, here's one with the multiple fabric. Isn't that cool? You get all these cute little inserts that you could never ever do, like just patchwork yourself. So let me come down here again. I will do the sew the corner, sew and flip. So if I have a sew and flip, this particular block has 4 of them. And so when I put it down, I have my guide beam, which is built into the machine, and this guide beam can move left and right. I have a needle, I have a foot here that I can't move it too much. Can you see that? There's not much hole in this, in the edge foot. So if I'm going to come along here, I'm going to be sure that guide beam is pointing right down, and I will go edge to edge. It's easier if hold with the left hand. Edge to edge like that. Let's just pull this out a minute so I can show you. So here we go. Oops. It's got the light color thread, but that would be pulling back over here, and I would be pressing this, right? Pressing that, and then I would be trimming this back side. So pressing that, just like we did, we've done on so many things. So there is, and I have actually I show you some ways that tools that I use for this on the post that I did. So that is, whoops, that is something I'll share with you, the link, so that you can go see the post. Yay! So a little bit of sewing. What I'm going to do with this project, I believe, is pretty much set it up so that I can go over to have it in the top of the rolling assistant here. And that way, as I'm doing other things, I can take like these blocks, these snowball blocks are called, because they'll have 4 of these on each corner, makes it look like a circle, sort of. It's kind of the traditional name for that type of block. But I would be able to do these as I'm going, to sort of chain piece them through here. So I have like all of the squares for that. And I would just keep it in the top here so that I can easily get hold of it. I can just reach over here and grab it. That makes it really easy and really fun, not very difficult. So I don't know if I brought over, well, I just brought a regular ruler. So let me show you on the regular ruler what we do down here on the mat. Oop. If I can get all the way down. So you can see the line, right? So there's my sewn line, and when I flip it over, it's going, and I press it, it's going to be like that. So I need to trim off so I'm going to do this, and put the 1/4 inch on there and trim it off. Now some people will take these and, whoops, I didn't catch quite the end. Some people will take these itty bitty pieces and sew again, and these, sew another seam on here, and then press those open into little mini half square triangles. They would be super tiny, very adorable. You could do a bunch of these and make them into a needle case, like them to like a pin cushion or something like that. I personally, I don't do that. That's a lot of work, a lot of extra work. I've messed around with it. I have some stars that I'm doing that are down there, and I do them from the Christmas fig because they're actually a little bigger than these. These are pretty tiny. These are really, really tiny. They may only be like 3/4 of an inch finished, you know, so that's too small for me. I'm not messing with that. I'm gonna put them in my recycling. This is what I use. This is what I use right next to my sewing machine. It's ceramic, you know, so that it's heavy and it doesn't like sort of flop onto the floor. And I just toss all of my, because I like to have pretty things. So I toss all the threads in there. Okay, so I promised you that I'd answer some questions this week, some fun questions. You guys asked me some fun ones. Excuse me. Okay, so we have a couple things here. Sorry. Got a frog in my throat. Who made that saying up? But it's true. It's what it feels like. Okay, so Bonnie H asked me, she says, what about a fun question? It's like, I like fun questions. She says, what's your favorite food? I've been thinking about that since I read it, because I like really good food. So it depends. Like sometimes if I like really good food, I might want some really wonderful like pasta, or I might want a really nice scallops. I love scallops, and I don't make scallops myself. So they're pretty high on my list when I go out to eat. You know, if there's scallops or a really nice shrimp dish, that's what I'll get like when I go out, because I don't make that food so much myself. But I also love barbecue, amazing barbecue. When our last trip, we had amazing barbecue. It was so good. You know, we were down in North Carolina, and it was the white, they call it white barbecue, it's like the vinegar base, but I like all kinds of barbecue, pulled pork. So Heather L asked me that, she said she's putting seeds in the dirt. She's putting seeds in the dirt for summer already, you know, planting. And I'm like, so jealous. I don't do that. I did it years ago, but she wanted to know if I have a vegetable garden. I have over the years. I don't do that right now, but I have over the years. I've grown all kinds of vegetables, but I sort of like not on my list to do anymore. Occasionally my neighbors will gift me with tomatoes or cucumbers, zucchini, of course. So Wanda H asked, what thoughts do I have on putting my block together when you don't like the colors? Well, okay, so at some point you're working and this project's not speaking to you anymore, the colors aren't speaking to you anymore. So what do? You could just wait. Sometimes you have to wait. Sometimes you have to move through it a little bit further, and then it clicks. The other thing that I find is that often we have the color palette that we picked, the group of colors we picked, is not cohesive. It's not gelled. So I find the best thing is to remove a color. That works for a lot of people. Look at all the colors you have and take one out, and then see what's going on. See if that makes it come together better, or maybe you need to trade out a color. One color is really not the spark or the interest, or it's not gelling. But look and try to find like the one block you don't care for, or the one that, and then the one that you do, and then analyze it. So you kind of have to go project by project, but I think a lot of it has to do with the actual fabrics being too many for many people's eye. You know, our eyes want to have it a little tighter color palette. So Diana L wanted to know, if I make a gift quilt, do I wash it, and why or why not wouldn't I wash it? If I give a gift quilt, I would wash it, because one, I want to know if it's going to bleed. If it's going to bleed, I don't want to have given a gift to somebody who washes their quilt and all of a sudden they call me up and say, you know, the red fabric made everything pink. You know, that would just be horrifying. So I want to know in advance what's happening with all those fabrics. Also, I want to know, like, if I have a pop seam or if something's wrong. I want to see it before I give it as a gift, and all of a sudden they have this problem. Plus you have oils, and if you have pets, you have pet hair, you want all that off of it before you give it to somebody who you don't know their allergies, you don't know who else comes in contact with it at their home. Lisa B asks, When I have several projects going on at one time, yeah, raise your hand. Are you like me? Several projects at one time. What are some of your best tips on how to manage your time working on them? Well, I have to keep everything in bins. I have these bins. I don't have one near me, but they're the, bins that stack, and I keep the projects in those. I'm also a scheduler, so I schedule, because a lot of this is for work, so I have to know what my deadlines are and things like that. But you can use the same thing. You can say, I'm going to work on this one this time, this one that time, and you can do the exact same thing. You can have a schedule and you can know your deadlines. If you don't have deadlines, just make a schedule anyways, because then you'll work on them. Say you'll work on these 2 this week, and next week you'll work on those 2, or I work on them simultaneously. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but I use one to start and stop, and then the other one is the primary, and then sometimes I switch it around. Okay. I'm going to go real quick on these. Cheryl Y asked, on charm squares, do I cut the edges off? No, I don't. I don't cut them off. Do measure the manufacturer's charm pack to be sure, but they are not intended to be trimmed. The manufacturers do pre-cuts so that you use them as is. That's the whole design of them, but machinery isn't always 1000% perfect. And like I told you earlier, fabric moves and shifts. So do double check if it's really important that it be spot on. Okay, so here's 2 more. Darlene L asked, how do I store my quilts? She uses hangers. I have over 600 quilts, so I can't put them on hangers. They're stacked and folded on shelving in our storage bedroom. We have a storage bedroom, so that's where they all go. And then one more, Jana B asked, do I have any antique quilts? We have a few that belong to Greg's, the shipping department, my husband Greg's grandmother, and I purchased a few over time. So I have maybe 10 at the most, because my family didn't quilt. My family didn't sew, so I don't have any personal antique quilts. All right, now to the fun part. Last week's winner. Yay, I switched this over now. You're all going to enter at my website, where I'm also going to put this video and all the links and stuff. So no matter where you're watching it, when you want to leave a comment, leave it at my website. And if you can't see the comment area at my website, change devices. Because sometimes your phones don't allow you to do everything that the web will let you do. Or change from a tablet to your phone, or change, see what happens. You should be able to get to it. So this one is going, I will email Angela Yu, who said that she definitely thought Betty, here I'm looking, hold on. She definitely thought Betty's luncheonette would go perfectly with my peach fabric. Like tangerine, I think it looks like creamsicle. This is going to be a very orangey creamsicle quilt, but I love it. You can't do, you have to, I'm going to talk about that another time, talk about that quilt. But this whole package is going to Angela Yu. So, yay. And then this time, I have a question, and this is what I'm going to send. Somebody will get this layer cake. Nice layer cake, which is called Hello Sweetheart. I used this fabric for the button club from the charm pack, and it's just darling. Pinks and blacks and whites. It is so cute. I just love it. So this week, what I want to know is tell me how you feel about your quilt making. Does your quilt making feel like it's, I use the word therapy, but really it's like, how does it feed your soul? When you quilt, whether you're doing it by hand or machine, how do you use your quilting? Do you make quilts to work through a problem? Do you make quilts to work through grief? Do you make quilts to celebrate, which I think we often do? You celebrate and birthdays and anniversaries, graduations, all those really happy retirements. You make quilts as a therapy to give to a friend who might be having a hard time, who might be ill, that you want to wrap them in love and hugs. And it also helps us put all, I think it does, if it does for you, if it helps you put all your love into that for that person that is so special to you, that you want to let them know. And so tell me, that's the comment. It's kind of broad, but tell me how you use quilting in sort of the mode of therapy for happy things, for yourself, to feed your soul, to relax. So I'll write that down too. I'll write it so you don't have to totally remember it. But that is our question for the week, and then somebody will get this one next time. It's pretty cute. It's really cute. So thank you for being here. Thank you for using all of my links when you do your shopping. You can always go to my shopping page, or anytime I share a link. All of those support our small family business. So Greg and I thank you so much for being here, for being part of it, for being in my quilting neighborhood. So this is always fun. I'm just super excited to be doing this every week. If occasionally I'm on travel, I might not get this in, but I'm really trying to get it in on either Sunday or Monday is my goal, just depending on what my schedule is. So that's kind of where I'm leaning on the days that we'll do this, and I'll always post it now on my website, and there's a category called Fireside Chat, so you'll be able to find me. I'm Pat Sloan. Chat to you online at my Facebook group, Quilt Along with Pat Sloan, on the YouTube channel, here at my blog. See you later.